Good morning, you all. Boy, it's another great day to be in unity, because unity is the pathway to divine awareness and peace. That's why we're here, and we are about to hear a talk that's going to help us get there and stay there. Is there anybody here from another unity? If you're from another unity, hold up your hand high. And is there anybody here for the first time? Keep your hand up high. We have a gift for you, okay? If you're here for the first time, keep your hand up. Our ushers are going to come down and give you a bag full of money. All right. Well, whether we know it or not, and by this time you should really get it, you are here by divine appointment, and you'll know that so. Look forward to this talk coming your way.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unity of Boulder. Everyone who's joining us here in-house on this beautiful day, and everyone who's watching from home or on some sort of device. We love spending time with you each week, so thank you for joining us. I've got a few quick announcements of upcoming events here at Unity of Boulder. Palm Sunday, which is going to be this March, or it's obviously a Sunday, it's March 29th. We are going to be following that after our 11 a.m. service with a potluck in Fellowship Hall that everyone's invited to bring any kind of dish you'd like to share. And even if you don't have a dish to share, still come and join us and have lunch with us. We always have a great time. And we are gearing up for Easter, as usual this time of year. Our Easter is on April 5th, and on Easter, we're only doing an 11 a.m. service. There will be no 9 a.m. service on April 5th, Easter. But we're putting together some wonderful music for that, so definitely come check that out and bring someone else, maybe a neighbor, a family member, someone who's never been to Unity of Boulder. It's going to be a beautiful service. So now I'd like to welcome out our friend Deb King, who's one of our dedicated volunteers. She also leads women book studies here at Unity of Boulder, and she is going to read the Daily Word.
Thanks, Mike. Hi. It's nice to see everyone. Today's Daily Word is Divine Feminine. I bless the Divine Feminine in myself and in all others. Today is International Women's Day, a time to celebrate women's achievements across societies and cultures. It is also a time to celebrate the Divine Feminine, which blesses all people. When I honor the Divine Feminine, I am recognizing God as love, compassion, mercy, and understanding, aspects that are present in everyone. The world is blessed by the contributions of those who embody the Divine Feminine, men as well as women. In their words and actions, from the steeliness of protection to the softness of comfort and nurturance, I give thanks for the girls and women in my life as I lift up and celebrate the Divine Feminine in its many expressions. I affirm the Divine Feminine awakens and expands in my heart and blesses and prospers all life. From Proverbs 31, give her a share in the fruit of her hands, and let her works praise her in the city gates. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unity today. This is the point in our service, which is a call for prayer. It's an opportunity for us to heighten our Christ consciousness and become one with our friends and family members that might be facing a challenge right now. And you can write their first name on a piece of paper, and Margaret from our prayer team will come down and collect their names, and they'll go into a prayer box for 30 days being prayed over here at Unity Boulder, and then they will be sent to Unity Village to Silent Unity for 30 days at Unity Village. But we like to sing this song to come into the presence of this room and leave the world outside these doors and allow ourselves to bless ourselves with this time for growth and remembrance and community. Thank you. You are the air I breathe. You are the air I breathe. Your holy presence living in me, and I'm grateful for you. And I'm grateful for you. So grateful for you. And so it is. Now we're going to sing an entertainment club number. Anybody that's been part of our entertainment club, you can come and sing with us. But we're going to ask you all to stand, and we're going to sing this beautiful song together. Open my eyes so divine. Speed it up a little bit. Open the eyes of my heart. I wonderful singing. While you're standing, let's say thank you, God, for this beautiful day. And turn and meet one another, get each other's names. Let's have a little community.
And now pat yourself on the back and say, thank you, God, for me. Now I'd like to welcome today's special musical guest, which I'm sure most of you will recognize. This is Rebecca Abraxas. She's going to share some of her beautiful sound with us today. Rebecca also, every third Friday of every month, she leads an illuminated sound bath downstairs in her beautiful meditation room. And this month it's going to be Friday, the 20th, which also happens to be the spring equinox that very day. So she will be celebrating the arrival of spring. And it's at 6:30, Friday the 20th, $30 if you pre-order it, $35 on the day of the event. And she will also be joined by her husband, Matt Abraxas, who is going to read the astrology that night. So definitely check it out. She's going to give you a little tiny taste of what happens down in that room. Get it, Rebecca?
Rebecca, what a beautiful, beautiful way to start. Yeah. It's very reflective of our daily word today, honoring the divine feminine. The divine feminine, we know, goes down to our Mother Earth. And boy, can you feel that drumbeat of the heartbeat of our mother, who sustains us and gives us life and protects us here for the living with the water and the food and all of the beauty that the Mother Earth gives us. My sermon is not about that today because it's Lent, and it's the third week of Lent. And it's interesting that Daily Word would do something with Divine Feminine when it's actually about imagination this week, but the Lent copy does talk about imagination, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. The last few weeks we've been talking about our thoughts and our words and how they have a life form in what we create in our lives. And so now we're taking on one of the more fun things and difficult things, because we can use our imaginations for good, and we can use our imaginations for things that can bring up haunts about things that might be from childhood, might be stories that we've held that still have us living from a limited place, because it might be a subconscious or unconscious thing that's still there, that was kind of put into the soil or into the foundation of who we are by something with our parents or with childhood friends or our first loves or things of that nature. So in Keep a True Lent, Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore reminds us, with my imagination I lay hold of perfect ideas and clothe them with substance. Just like a designer selects fabric and cuts a pattern, we use imagination to dress divine ideas in form. Thought becomes thread, faith becomes fabric, and our lives become the garments we wear. Imagination is not fantasy. It is a spiritual faculty. It is the sacred ability to see beyond current appearances and envisioning what Spirit is longing to express through us. We begin to consciously create lives rooted in purpose, beauty, and possibility. I love how beautifully written this is. So it's really a question for us to ask ourselves, what are you ready to envision for your own life? What new pattern is Spirit inviting you to cut, right? What life are you ready to wear? I think this would be a really fun exercise for the kids in our youth and family department, because it'd be really fun to see what some of their ideas are, what they would cut and what they would create. But it's not just for the young family children. We can still be like children again. They say to really come up into our most spiritual development is to become like children again. We let go of all those limited stories, and we look through a lens of wonder again at our lives, and not the cuts and the breaks that have brought us to this point, but kind of almost starting renewed, brand new, right? So there's a powerful faculty within us that can either lead us into bondage or into freedom. And Charles Fillmore words it this way. And again, I have rain, because we're still asking for some rain in the area. So we're visualizing and imagining rain coming to our area right now. And also water represents emotions. So that's why I have water again on the back wall. The imaging faculty of the mind is the power to form mental images. But he also taught something deeper. Imagination is not merely fantasy, it is formative. It helps shape our experience and participates in creation. And that is why Lent is the perfect time to talk about it. Because Lent is about examination. It's about turning and noticing where we've been living a little unconsciously, right? And I came across this comedian, Robbie Hoffman, who did a bit that made me laugh really hard this week. And I contemplated why this act made me laugh, because I realized it actually triggered a memory for me. And that memory made me realize that there is a pattern and a current in my life right now that still exhibits some of this idea. So I'm going to try to reenact this a little bit for you. This is her, and she's hilarious, and she does cuss a lot, so I took all that part out of the funny part of this. So in the bit she says, "Did you ever realize you grew up poor because you like a hard towel?" And I immediately laughed because I could relate. Robbie Hoffman shares that her career is now taking off. And she says she's starting to hang out with friends that are now way more affluent. And one day she goes over to someone's house that's having a pool party. And she had brought her own towel, which she suddenly realized that that was apparently a poor person's move. She's like, okay, nobody else showed up with their own towel. I'm the only one with a bag like I'm going to a swim practice. But the host says, oh, no, we've got towels, and hands her one. And she says, it's this big, fluffy towel. So she tries to dry off with it, and she's like, I still feel wet. Am I still wet? Am I supposed to dry the towel, or is the towel drying me? What is the system here with the fluffy towel? And then the person says, oh yeah, we just bought new towels. And she says, new towels? She said, to me, those words new and towel don't even go together. Wait, they're selling these things? She says a towel is like teeth. Whatever towels you're born with, those are the towels you die with. And I laughed so hard because she's got this New York thick accent, Jewish, just fun and funny. But she's laughing at her own life because she's the oldest of 10 children in a very poor family. So she's turned her pain into humor. And like they say, that's what humor is. It's tragedy plus time is what cracks us up, right? Like I had an experience last night that was kind of tragic, but I was laughing about it today because when things happen, the more we're in our spiritual entouchment, we laugh sooner because we get over stuff faster, right? We just know the flow that life brings obstacles and we move through them and we survive, right? But while I didn't grow up poor, I relate with this because my parents both grew up very poor. So that trauma of their childhoods being from such poverty, I can tell you the towels that we grew up with. And, you know, I have anxieties about spending money. I find that I really provide very little for myself. My nature tends to be always getting stuff for my kids or my husband or my parents. But like to get me on the map, I feel this sense of shame and guilt. Like, I don't know, it's like a worth thing. It's something with that poverty consciousness keeps me from wanting to do nice things for myself when I really know I deserve it because I'm really extending myself in life right now. And I got to change that pattern, right? I got to cut new fabric around this one. And I really took to thoughts because I was thinking I needed a new outfit and I was going to get one, and this is not new. I've had this for 10 years. But I remembered like my childhood with like the thermostat with my dad, and like if we left the thermostat on and when you left the house, this was not going to go well. Right? It was pure anxiety because you were going to face the fear that he had that there wasn't enough. Right? If we overtook showers, right? They had all of these things on the shower heads that decreased the water, so it was literally like a drip. In our freezing house, it was never warm enough because, you know, we're saving money. So all of those things takes form in you. And I find myself in the same way because my son will take a long shower and I'm thinking, my God, all of Boulder's not going to have any water for the next year. Right? Like, who takes showers like this? And I have normal shower heads. I mean, I don't have that rain shower because that's just ridiculous. But I don't have this limited, terrible shower head that I grew up with. And I'm giggling about it because I have compassion about it because I can only relate from just a little bit of trauma that I have from that experience. What they carry from really growing up without what they really needed, like food and warmth and shelter, and especially my father. And I saw the fear in my dad a lot when he would freak out at us. It was just terror that everything can be taken from you. You know what I mean? Who can relate with this? Did anybody grow up poor here or had family members that shared with you their experience of that and how it has this long-lasting impression on you, even all the way up to my age at this time? So this one time, our family went on a all-church camping trip, which we haven't done in a few years. We're going to try to do again this summer, which is really, really fun. And there's about 50 of us in different families with all their tents. And my parents show up with a tent that can't be bigger than 4 foot by 4 foot. My dad is 6 feet tall. They have a huge dog, and he's napping during the day, and this much of his legs is hanging out the door of this tent. But we teach prosperity consciousness in this church. And I'm thinking, oh my God, like, how could you be using a tent that is like 150 years old? Like, it's, and everybody's got like these tents you can touch a button and they open up and there's living rooms and there's like shelters, there's places to cover their tables. I mean, these things were unbelievable. But there's Jack's tent. The whole idea is, if it ain't broke, why replace it, right? And it's true, we can, but that's not abundance consciousness. Obviously, we don't overtake from the world, and we don't overtake, but we are in a spirit-led world. There is enough for everyone, and it is okay to indulge ourselves sometimes with some of the finer things in life. Right? And I discovered that last night, and I'll share that in a little bit. So the big story of Lent is the wilderness and the mind. In Matthew 4:1, Jesus is tested in the wilderness. In the Gospels, early in his ministry, Jesus goes into the wilderness for 40 days. There he's tempted. The temptations are not physical first, they are mental. And we know that, like in the fasting, if you've been fasting for the last 30, or I don't know how many days we've been doing it, but it's the third Sunday. 21 days. You realize it's not the physical that is first. It's really the mental that starts to really harp at us. And if we've stopped eating sugar or stopped a substance or stopped eating meat or all the things that people do. But what we are really doing in Lent is eliminating scarcity consciousness. We're eliminating our low stories that we talk about ourselves, around worth and dreaming. We want to open back up through the death of the crucifixion so that we can birth anew into that which we are called to do and be here in the now, right? So Jesus is tempted, not by physical first, but by the mental. Spirit leads Jesus into the wilderness, but Jesus is met by the devil, who's demanding Jesus to prove who he is. Show us that you can do all these things that you're saying, all these miracles. But he's already proven it just by being the perfect child of God and as an example of what we're all capable of attaining in this world. He says, turn that stone to bread, throw yourself down, all this can be yours. He's saying, I'll give you all of these riches and all these great things. And Jesus is like, not going to sign up, all right? And so Jesus gets anchored, and he realizes he has to come into his divine presence. And he says back, it is written, man shall not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God. Man shall not live on bread alone, but through the word from the mouth of God. And this is about us. The word of the mouth of God is our high consciousness, listening to that which is developed, where we have second sight, we have hits of high intuition. We are divinely guided to do what we need to do when we face the devil. And what is the devil? The devil, it metaphysically represents the slanderer or adversary, the idea when something comes up against us that's a thought that has a life in us that we want to get rid of. We have to come up over that thought, or this poverty conscious that I have to get over to finally, at this golden age that I'm at, starting to self-care a little bit more. And stop running to prove that I can do everything, and taking that beautiful pause and knowing that I'm a beautiful, perfect child of God, and I deserve to enjoy breath and peace and love and a new dress if I want, right? And so when we understand that inner voice that opposes our highest truth, that's what the devil represents, right? And so that's also sin represents error. It's error thinking. It's all these things come back metaphysically to our experience and how we expand in consciousness. So sometimes it sounds like you're not enough. There isn't enough. You better hold onto that or something is going to go wrong. Because apparently the devil doesn't always show up with horns and pitchforks. Sometimes it shows up saying, don't buy new towels. Those ones will still technically absorb moisture, right? And I own some of those childhood towels in my house, so I think they will probably go till my death, just like they were born with my teeth, right? So it also can say, you don't need a bigger tent, Jack. Your legs hanging out builds character, Jack. And that's when you realize something. The wilderness isn't always out in the desert. The stories are about minds repeating these things that no longer serve us. So have you replaced that tent? Have you replaced the tent? I bought him one, and it broke his first camping trip. I bought him one of the nicest ones that he had observed at that camping trip, and it broke because I think that lowered, like, I need to stay with the old tent. He said he took the tent and cut it up and made towels out of it. Okay, so that's one way to do it. So we're going to talk about the misuse of imagination. It can look like this. The misuse of imagination shows up in subtle ways. We imagine worst-case scenarios. We rehearse conversations that happened. We replay old hurts. We project rejection. We assume lack. We construct fear-based futures. And then we live emotionally inside those imagined worlds. Can anybody bring to mind any area where you've been misusing your imagination and would like to share quickly what it is? Go ahead. Okay, so OCD and anxiety exasperates your potential. It exacerbates. Exaggerates, okay. And do you feel like you can overcome that pattern of OCD and anxiety?
Yes and no. I can't fight it.
Fighting the middle ground, right, okay. Well, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think we can relate, who has been experiencing anxiety and have some little potential OCD with different things, right? I mean, those are, in this growing panicked world, a lot more of us are witnessing more of that anxiety or feeling that lack of being able to breathe really deeply into our stomach, so we can really get into a place where we can regulate oneself, so we can attend the things we're facing in wholeness versus a fractured energy because we're in our fight or flight, or we're in a state of kind of conquering something that we've made bigger in our mind's eye. Does that make sense? Does that seem right? Okay, thank you for sharing that. It's very helpful. So Rumi wrote that you are not to seek for love, but find and remove the barriers you built against it. I mean, we could just do a talk around this particular point right here, right? So Rumi wrote that you are not to seek for love, but find and remove the barriers you built against it. What a powerful, simple solution to find where we've made up these barriers towards peace. These barriers towards inviting love into our lives. These barriers we have built up to protect ourselves from people or anxiety or, and in the end we're creating more and more patterns because we're building walls that are keeping us from expressing and being together in this oneness and having this community experience where we can all lift each other. But we've become such an isolated world, and we think we have to go find everything on our own. And that's why this is so important, to have community, to remember we're all in this together. We're not alone in this, right? So what if we approached that through the power of imagination? Imagine that love is not something far away that we must go searching for. Imagine instead that love is already here, like sunlight filling a room. And in that room are things we placed there over time. Old furniture, boxes, walls we built for protection. Through imagination, we can begin to notice them. Maybe one box is labeled old hurt. Another might be fear of rejection. Another might be the belief that I'm not enough. Imagination allows us to gently look at these barriers without judgment. Let's take a moment to look at these barriers without judgment. The more we can just soften ourselves when we're looking at our barriers and loving ourselves and nurturing ourselves and recognizing when we're pushing in a hard way against it, it's building that barrier in a bigger way. To soften oneself and to recognize that it's okay to be with this, and we also have the right to imagine differently. To utilize this faculty of imagination, which allows us to gently look at these barriers without judgment, and then in the quiet of reflection, we can begin to move them, not by force, but by awareness, right? So, and as each barrier is moved aside, something surprising happens. We realize we didn't have to go looking for love at all. Love was already filling the room. So I have a few stories I want to share. There's a few funny ones around the poverty thing, but I remember when I was about 12, and we had a vacuum guy come by the house selling the creme de la creme vacuum. I mean, this thing was like $1,100 back then, I remember. So that was like getting like a $3,000 vacuum now, maybe $5,000. And the whole sales pitch was like, to my mom. My dad wasn't there. My mom had had a horrible vacuum that didn't really work well, and we had 3 huge dogs and whatever, so she was really in this. But the whole sales pitch was like, you're gonna love cleaning. You are gonna love cleaning again. You know, as a woman, you're gonna be restored back to loving cleaning, okay? And I'm listening to this stuff, and I'm like way beyond my mom, like, what a bunch of BS, you know what I mean? She taught me to not think of things that way, but yet she emulated that women do all the cleaning. You know, like she'd say, don't be like that, but then she was that. You know what I mean? All that, it's just confusing. But this vacuum was literally chrome with black wheels with actual chrome rims on them, okay? This thing looked like a sparkly, like, Lexus car. And my mom got really pulled in to the sales pitch, and she finally goes, she signs at the dotted line. She agrees to paying, you know, in payments for 2 years to get this vacuum for herself. And I remember her getting the vacuum, getting it all together. I mean, this thing was shiny. She's like, whew, I'm gonna clean again. For all 3 of these kids and these 3 dogs, I'm gonna love this, right? She had that vacuum for maybe a day or 2. Dell, my older brother, sniffs it out. He has an old car, and he says, I'm going to go clean out my car with the vacuum. And he takes it outside, and he cleans out his entire car. And then a little bit later, we hear him scream, oh, no! He'd forgotten that it was behind his car, and he ran over it and destroyed this vacuum. Okay. But everything, it still sucked, and it made the sound, but the chrome wheels were now broken, out like this, and all of the little things that connect to it, those were all crushed. So this is the biggest piece of crap that ever lived. And my mom, for the next 10 years, is dragging this vacuum around with the wheels. There's no wheels. With us scratching the wood floors of our house to vacuum in all the areas, because everybody else was more important than her, right? That was kind of the message she gave. Like, she should have said, no, Dell, use the old vacuum to clean. But, right, us mothers are like, I finally get myself one nice little shiny thing, and then the kids come in and they destroy it and break it, right? I've had my kids do this. But it's just the idea that there was no boundary for her. She didn't love herself enough to say, I mean, if they were cleaning the house, I'm sure that's one thing. But taking it outside in the mountains to this dirt driveway that we had was just crazy. But the fact that she didn't get herself another one, and I think she has a new vacuum now, but I'm telling you, years of this dragging, broken, and she had payments for 2 years. So I point these things out because these things were making me laugh this week. My dad speaking prosperity consciousness. Our church was so successful back in his day, and it's successful still, but it was the heyday. And here she is dragging this broken thing around. You know, like she was like the last person on the totem pole. And I have that in me a little bit still. Because it's not what your parents said to you, it's what they did. Like she'd say, you always stand up for yourself. You make sure you make decisions. You always make sure you know what money's in the bank account. You know, make sure you are equal partners and everything. And then didn't treat herself to that, you know? So I point this out just from my experience for you to take hold of what your experience is and examine what is still being carried in you that's holding limitation for you, either in a conscious or unconscious way, to love ourselves enough to give us the life we deserve, right? So love was already filling the room. And Eric Butterworth says this: we're not victims of circumstances, but of our own thinking about circumstances. About our own thinking about circumstances. So, imagination, when untethered from truth, becomes anxiety. It becomes resentment. It becomes self-condemnation. One day, a student came to the Buddha with many philosophical questions. He wanted answers about the universe. Is the world eternal? Is it infinite? What happens after death? Is there a soul or not? And he said to the Buddha, if you don't answer these questions for me, I'm not sure I can continue on this path. So the Buddha told him a story. He said, imagine a man walking through the forest, and suddenly he is struck by a poisoned arrow. His friends rush him to a doctor who says we must pull the arrow out immediately. But the wounded man says, wait, before you remove the arrow, I need to know some things. Who shot the arrow? Was he tall or short? What village was he from? What kind of bow did he use? What kind of feathers are on the arrow? What wood was the shaft made from? And the Buddha said, if that man insists on getting all of these questions answered first, he will die before the arrow is removed. Then the Buddha said, in the same way there are many questions about the universe, we can debate forever. But the urgent question is this: how do we remove the arrow of suffering from our lives? It's not really about who did it or how it happened or, you know, what shape of it was or what were the intentions behind it. You know, we do all this story building about why we had these cuts, why we had these situations come to us, when the truth is it's ours to pull the poison arrow out of us. And so that's where imagination comes in, where we can imagine something better. And we always think, like, when we're trying to make a change in our life, that it's some big catapulting, having to overcome some crazy mountain. But maybe it's just the tuning of a string of a guitar. Maybe it's just a fine tuning that just brings you back to balance with your mind, body, and spirit. That you can now see correctly, feel correctly about your life. Right? Luckily, I can laugh because I don't have some big trauma from this childhood with the poverty consciousness, because our family was funny. I was raised by New Yorkers. So all the dark stuff was our humor, right? Which was a really playful house to live in, because we knew how to take our pain and not really spiritually bypass it, but see it through a funny eye, kind of seeing the universe as as silly, and it does jokes on us, and it just is keeping us on our toes and having a nice laugh around the discord of life, right? Humor's huge. That's why I try to bring a little funny skit at the beginning. Thank you for obliging me. That scared the SHIT out of me. But I am facing myself, right? I want to get better and better at this career that I was called to. So I'm willing to do things that are like, ugh. I tried it out on my daughters. I was with them last night. They didn't laugh. But they're like, but if you added this, right? But I'm in a place where I want feedback. I want to have fun in this work because it is a beautiful, fun work, this spiritual life, right? And I know you're rooting for me just like I'm rooting for you. So we can all be braver and step out of our comfort zones a little bit and have a little more fun together, right? So in the Course in Miracles, it says projection makes perception, right? So we perceive from what we project. In other words, what we project from our inner imaging becomes what we believe we see. So what is something glorious that you want to dream about? Imagination, like I would like to dream that I don't feel nervous when I walk out here. I've been doing it for 15 years, and I still have this my Saturdays are kind of shot because I'm kind of just working the sermon, and it just kind of takes my peace away all day. I'd like to just feel like I enjoy my Saturdays, and I've done my work, I've created the sermon, I've done all, and now I can really let it go and give it to God. Who relates to that? Like where we just can finally let go of the pressures we put on ourselves to be so perfect when nobody's perfect. And in fact, we really like it when people are authentic and real and honest, right? So there's a few ways we can work this whole thing. When imagination is misused, it creates fear images. When rightly used, it becomes spiritual vision. That is imagination misapplied. Lent gently calls us back to presence. And we use something called denials and affirmations. In our fourth principle, it says this: through prayer and meditation, we join heart with mind. Denials and affirmations are the tools we use. This is the fourth principle. A denial is not denying our reality. It is the refusal to energize the false belief. It's denying that I'm going to no longer let that be a part of my reality. I'm denying that that has a life form in me anymore. So to deny goes like this. I deny the belief that fear has power over my mind. I deny the story that I am separate from God. I deny the imagination that projects lack or rejection. And then I affirm in affirmation that divine wisdom lovingly guides my thoughts. I affirm that God's living presence is moving within me now. I affirm that my imagination helps reveal my divine possibilities. And so this kind of puts us back in that childlike wonder. How can we imagine it differently? Because that's what's being asked here, is to dream again. To dream again. Because dreaming, then we can make a mental picture that is so powerful and so beautiful and so empowered and so self-loving and so reverent, and we'll have revelations from Spirit because we're living in this wonderful giving and receiving an open vessel within mind, body, and spirit where it's not congested with all these barriers. So I'm going to take you into a quick meditation right now and see if we can implement some of this good stuff. So we're just going to close our eyes, get into the presence of this room. Redeeming the imagination. Let us begin by gently closing the eyes and softening our gaze. Taking a slow, deep breath in and release. Allow your body to settle. Allow your shoulders to soften. Allow your jaw to relax. And now bring your awareness to the breath. Just releasing any control with it and just inhaling and exhaling. Charles Fillmore called it the imagining power of the mind, the ability to form mental pictures. Today we simply observe how we have been using it, without any judgment and with softening and breath. Has your imagination been rehearsing fear? Replaying conversations? Anticipating rejection? No judgment, no shame, just awareness. Now we say, I deny any imagination that limits my divine nature. And we feel the shift. And we affirm that our divine presence lives within me. And we affirm that our mind is guided by wisdom. And we affirm that our imagination serves love, not fear. Instead of imagining what could go wrong, imagine being held in divine oneness. Let your imagination become sanctified. See yourself responding calmly where you once reacted. See yourself speaking kindly to yourself. See yourself walking through this week grounded and steady. And now gently release all images. Let even the good ones go. Return to simple presence, breathing in and breathing out, here and now. Imagination surrendered to spirit becomes vision. Vision aligned in truth becomes peace. And when you are ready, gently bring awareness back to the room. Wiggle the fingers, move the shoulders, and carry with you this knowing. Your imagination is not your enemy. It is a sacred tool. And today, it serves love. Amen. Blessings. Thank you.
Well, I've got to respond to some of the things she said. This actually is my towel. I've had it since I've been 5 years old. It used to be a big beach towel, but over the years it shrunk. So, but it still works. So I don't get what she's driving at. Okay, but you know, if you've raised children, I wasn't such a fanatic about the thermostat as I was about the lights. Kids never turn off lights, and that's what I always had to say to them. Oh, please get those lights turned out in your room. Come on, we're going someplace. But, and about the tent, I'm saying to you honestly, I never slept with my legs hanging outside the tent. I had a beautiful tent, and it was small by comparison to some of the tents they have today, but it was totally functional. and it didn't have any holes in it. And by having a smaller tent, it kept the warmth inside the tent for Norma and I, who are the only ones using it beside the dog. Okay, now you've heard my part of it. So now we have a chance to give back. It was a wonderful talk and a beautiful meditation. And we should all be exposed to such beautiful thoughts all the time as that, reminding us that that's what makes our life work. And now we have a chance to give back. We can bring into our hands all the gifts we'd like to make to Unity of Boulder, and we can bless the gifts with this offering prayer. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, because I give. And so it is. We have the opportunity to listen to Rebecca share her beautiful music with us. Incredible, interesting, unique, beautiful music. Okay, take it away.
Lived so long with good enough, prided myself with being tough. Wasn't life supposed to be rough? The lights have been turned off, like a little kid whose skin is thin. I was scared to go in. There's a light behind the door, I know 'cause I've seen it before. I can be brave and I know what it's like to be sore. I'm ready to go through my locked door. Daring greatly and I'm ready, ready to go through my locked door. Ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da. Tears stream down my face without a story to chase. There's souls I can't taste, sobs like someone close has died. My heart cracks open wide, and there's more than I realize. There's a light behind the door, I know 'cause I've seen it before. I can be brave and I know what it's like to be sore. I'm ready to go through my locked door, ready, ready to go. I'm fearing greatly and I'm ready, ready to go through my locked door. Deep in my core, there's no hiding anymore. Instead of feeling chased, I'm seeing my own face, like a holy mirror of grace. Here we go. There's a light behind the door, I know 'cause I've seen it before. I can be brave and I know what it's like to be sore. I'm ready to go through my locked door, ready, ready to go. There's a light behind the door, I know 'cause I've seen it before. I can be brave and I know what it's like to be be sore. I'm ready to go through my locked door, ready to go. Tearing greatly, and I'm ready to go through my locked door.
Up. All right. We have prayer partners available to you. If you're facing a challenge today, you can just stay seated in the seat at the completion of the service, and the prayer partners will come find you and take you to our beautiful meditation room and pray with you. I will be holding my discussion group at the end of the service back here in the corner in a circle where we just discuss what's on our heart, or if you want to talk about the sermon or something that came up for you that you'd like to share. We do that about 5 minutes after the service. And we have the healing circles that will be held right here by Steve. Can you do the healing circles? No, they'll actually be in the cry room, in the soundproof room right back there. All right, I think that's everything. Let's all rise and close with "Let There Be Peace on Earth." Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we. Let me walk with my family in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take and live in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Since we're running late, we're going to go right to refreshments and get into our after activities, and they're just going to play I Release and I Let Go, and you guys can get moving onwards to all of it.